There was a lost and injured hunter up there Thursday evening. They think, for background, I wasn't going to read this because it takes too long, but I'm going to be longer than if I just would have read this. But it takes longer to get in there than almost any other place in the county because there are no maintained trails or maintained roads to get back there. So the bottom line is our SARS group, along with Union County, and Forest Service and Walla Walla County folks, went in, retracted the injured hunter, and got him out. For those of you that are aware of our new wheeled newsletter, that was used in the extraction too. So it came into play very, very soon. But at this time, I'd like to kind of recognize Lyle Morris, Dave Rothmaker, Lacey Wilson, Daniel Gardner, and Rowan Hayes for the Umatilla County Sheriff's Office, along with Dwight Johnson and Tom Roberts actually ran the command center on the communications. And so hopefully we don't have very many of these kind of accommodations each year because it means that something has gone wrong. But in this case, it also meant that we did something extremely well. And so our hats off to our SARS group and the ability to extract this injured hunter was exemplary at the very least. So thank you to them. And then this weekend, also, I think all of you know that in the Free Water area, we all got hit with some hard weather. But in the Free Water and Walla Walla River area, especially the South Fork, we were hammered. I went to a meeting on Sunday with BLM and ran into our park managers. Chip and Chad were there, and I asked them how many people were in the park, and they said absolutely none. They've been spending the last 3 days picking up branches and limbs and everything else. They told me how many loads they hauled out. I can't even remember, plus the burn piles still remain. So hats off to those guys and the hours they put in to open that road back up into Harris Park and everything they got done. Same storm, a little more critical issue on the bend. Can't tell you exactly, about halfway between the turnoff and Harris Park, severe flooding happened on the south fork of the Walla Walla. We were very, very much, if you want to see pictures, I'll send them to you. So we're within feet of losing South Fork Walla Walla to the road. So Tom Fellows, Brian Johnson, and their crew actually worked over those 3 days to place about 600 plus tons of rock and riprap, saved that road from and very efficiently were able to save the road for a very long stretch. It was, if anybody knows that bend, it's not a short stretch by any means. And then followed up with the LCD, and because it was an emergency situation to get the riprap in there, it seems like everything's moving forward. They've been alerted, and they have no concerns that we get back together with Tom. So very big shout out to Tom, Brian, and that whole crew, what they accomplished over the weekend, for sure. One last thing, well, two things. And I should have started with this. Congratulations, Chairman Schaefer, on your win. And Commissioner-elect Timmons, congratulations to you. Good to see you this morning. And a follow-up to that is that the good news, bad news is that kind of the bad news is overall voter turnout in Oregon right now stands at 48.59%. That's not very good at all. But I guess the good news is Umatilla actually is ahead of the statewide average at 49.06. So I don't care how you take it, that's a win for Umatilla County right now. So, but what it really tells me is we have a lot of work left to do to inform and educate the people in Umatilla County how important it is to educate yourself and educate fair to those when the officers do it right. That's all I.
All right, appreciate that. Which word up?
Nope.
All right.
I'll let my copy congratulating our rescue staff, but also our investment taxation staff and resurrection techniques. There's the money for that collection on tax and those things did not go up too long ago. So this might be that people that people now are talking about giving people paying the tax to the people working. We're just having people pay the tax now, but in both departments, it made for good TV entertainment on the security monitor.
One thing I would like to point out is, and you mentioned it, we do have drop boxes here at the courthouse and at the courthouse in Hermiston at Stafford Hansel building, so you don't have to bring in your taxes all the way to Pendleton. You can drop them off there in Hermiston if you live in Hermiston. So,
And when people point out that the accused was exceeded in statewide average, it's adequate and confident for Umatilla County not to be last in the state. So I think it's moved up behind us. If people start to get last, they're lovely. And that's affecting you there.
yep, agreed. So, hats off to the voters. Okay. Approval of minutes from previous meetings, October 5th and October 19th.
Move for approval.
We got a motion and a second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Any additions to the agenda? Okay.
For refresh.
Yeah, there's a few. So, yeah, 24. Yeah. Okay. With that, we go into public input, recognition of visitors. Anybody who wants to say something to the board that's not on the agenda, now is the time to do so. Okay. Seeing none. Business items, number one, a road vacation.
Move for approval. I do want to make one comment for those that don't know where Center Street is, and like Tom pointed out that in the early 1900s and the 1902s, the actual some of those roads were plotted. There's a small township that was never built. Just as we go past the edge of Westland Road, off Colonel George Road. So I imagine in the years coming, as that area gets developed, more future commissioners will probably have to look at a lot of different roads out here.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Culvert factor.
Second
Move for approval of the purchase of Culvert pipe from Merrill Construction Supply.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good seeing you in person again, Tom. Yes, sir. Dispatch computer purchase. Captain Preston. Thing about a dispatch computer, they don't just get used 8 hours a day, they use 24/7, 365. So you get a lot of wear and tear.
Move for approval.
Motion is second. All in favor, vote say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justice Center, Datacenter.
Yearly expensive. The yearly expensive. Maintenance agreement with this. Do we have to look at classes on this?
Any other questions? At this point, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Did you use computer purchase? How much was that? So, for and this would have to be central fund dollars, correct? Pass through to all this, Any questions?
Move for approval.
Patrol computer purchase, number 5. Further questions? All fair one say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. 6, Sheriff's Office Payable. And I think that's correct. And by clock, so I have one.
Good morning, I'm here.
Sheriff Horner.
This individual actually called me yesterday to have pictures to the hospital. The person was Utah County. And I believe he did get discount lower person.
Yeah. Do you know if there's any ongoing, is there be any ongoing expenses after the swallowing of the red boy?
Yeah. Yeah, she was like back in the day after recovery from the and it sounds like he's not paranoid, he's still for that on the
Gotcha. Thank you. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All fair the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Emergency management grant. That one on the top left? Oh, that's Tim, sorry. Okay. Anybody want to speak to the emergency grant?
No.
No.
Moves to purchase the items until we get updated quotes. And so these grants here would cover the costs of those. When we obtained the grants, these were the costs that we had, but we are going to anticipate that those costs have gone up over the last several months. So again, these grants are I think, there's no match from the county. They would cover the entire cost unless the costs overrun what we anticipate here.
Hey, would it be smarter to come back after you get the quotes
so that we know where we are? If
We
they-
would do that before we made any further moves on these.
So maybe we should wait to approve it until you get the quotes.
That's up to you. I think we have some time to,
You've already applied for the grants, right?
we've already applied and I think we've been awarded the grants.
These are
Okay.
the agreements for those grants.
How long, how much, what's the time schedule on that?
Let me see if Tom provided that information.
Maybe we could make a motion to not exceed that, but that's not gonna help. That isn't,
I think right now we're in the, we've been awarded the grants and we have till sometime in 2024 to spend, but we would get updated quotes for sure before we, again, went forward on any of these projects.
no, not yet.
What the
Still-
board could do
still
is
under
just
discussion.
approve the grant's signature, but not authorize any expenditure until further board order. So this is just approving the agreement of
Okay.
the grants, and then any purchases under it could require further board action.
Okay, let me take a shot at that, and if I get it wrong, so make it correct. I move that we accept the grants as presented at this time with no anticipation of purchase until the quotes are brought back.
Until board approval.
Or until board, brought back for board approval. We're not even gonna look at we're not spending anything until they bring the quotes back, period. We're just accepting the grants right now.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Jim, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
That's just putting you on the spot, thank you.
Two grants in there. Okay, item number 8, post-retirement employment.
That doesn't apply to you anymore, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Remove my name from that list.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Blake, Human Resources Director. What's before you today is to approve the yearly request to continue employment for 4 PERS retirees.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Electrical upgrades contract, item number 9.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Mark Tanner, Facilities Manager, Umatilla County. This first one is to upgrade the electrical on the DD side of the juvenile facility to the amount of $34,290.
How many, I know this went out for RFP, how many did you get back?
Just the one. The company out of Hermiston that originally came and looked at the project chose not to rebid.
How many places did we advertise it just to get one?
I called 6.
You called them, but we didn't advertise.
No.
Was that on our website then? It was
Yeah,
on the website?
it's on the website, yeah.
Okay. And that, again, is not general fund dollars, that's DD dollars.
Correct.
I'll move for approval.
A motion, a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 10, maintenance facility payable, Unitech.
Yeah, this is for cameras and I believe it was fiber and all the connections at the new maintenance shop for $29,425.09.
Move for approval.
Got a motion, a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Maintenance facility payable heating.
Okay, this one is to Murphy's Heating, and this one was for 4 invoices, ductwork above the ceilings, the new furnace, or moving the existing furnace to the new location and repiping it, hooking up the existing heaters that we moved, and installing the coil for the heat exchanger. That's, sorry, I did it, $12,475.25.
Move for approval.
Got a motion, a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Community Corrections Facility payable.
Okay, this one is for Merriman's Plumbing for the rough plumbing install in the framing for $5,410.53.
And that's gonna be reimbursed through Community Corrections?
Correct.
How's that work? You just send a bill over to Community Corrections, or you and Robert get together, or?
I have a remodel account, and so I keep track of all the invoices, and then I'll bill Community Corrections, and then Robert deals with dispersing it to where it needs to go.
So at the end of the month or end of the project, or?
I usually wait till we're getting, the remodel line is 50,000, so I usually wait till I get close to that.
I think, Robert, did you want to add to that?
We generally disperse those costs once a quarter.
Once a quarter. Thank you. Move for approval.
Motion is second, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Back to Community Corrections.
Yep, this one is for hardware. This was for the door handles, closers, locks, all that stuff related to the doors for $6,355.50. And this is roughly half of the door hardware.
And again, that's not general fund dollars.
Correct.
Yeah, I really,
This is all coming from Community Corrections.
really just kind of wanted that on the record, so.
Yeah.
Move for approval.
Got a motion is second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I think that was it.
Think so?
Congratulations. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Mark.
Commissioners.
Thank you so much. Transportation grant applications.
Morning, Commissioners. Megan Dobchevsky, Transit Coordinator. I'm requesting approval to submit 2 different grant applications to ODOT under their STIF discretionary program. So I wrote these 2 applications up, and they went to the Umatilla County Transportation Advisory Committee on November 7th. That committee recommended that the board approve the 2 grant applications with just some minor additions to the application itself, clarifying why the county's transit reserve fund and the STIF plan won't be used to fund these routes, and that the matching source will come from the next STIF plan, which will come to you in a few months. So the Hermiston Hopper is an intercommunity transit route. Right now it stops in Mission, Pendleton, Echo, Stanfield, and Hermiston, and then it keeps going along 730 into Umatilla and even Eargan. So Kayak's estimating their expenses for the fiscal year 24 and 25 to be $336. And then the match dollars will come from the STIF plan. It's a 20% match. And then similarly, the Pilot Rock, it's also an existing route. It goes between Pilot Rock, Pendleton, and the Mission area. And this one's not quite as costly, estimated for 2 years, $285,647, with the match coming from the next STIF plan. Right now, both of these routes receive discretionary grant funds. The county applied for those funds 2 years ago, and right now the routes are being operated by Kayak. So I'm requesting approval to submit these 2 applications to ODOT. You'll see these again in the next coming months. It's a lengthy process.
The one thing I'd like to
before I move for approval of this, is I sat down with Megan and she supplied me with a lot of information on ridership on all of the different routes that she's in charge of, I guess.
Pass through.
Lack of a better term, but I was, like I told her, I was really surprised at the growth of ridership on all of these. Some of them aren't real high, but they are trending higher. Some of them are higher than what you would ever think.
Yeah.
And I think that you've done a great job, especially making sure everybody communicates and that all the parties are talking to each other. I think it's been a very, very well put together plan and with a purpose. I mean, the whole program has a purpose. And it all fits together. So thank you, Megan, for all your work on this. And if anybody ever does get a chance to look at the riderships, I think everybody would be surprised. I know I was.
I actually have last quarter's numbers for these two.
I always ask her for these.
July through September, the Hopper gave 3,809 rides, and the Rocket gave 1,306,
Yeah.
which was up.
And if you would have been around my first month or two, when we asked them from across the street, that it was in the mid hundreds. Now we're into the thousands. So it is a huge and very, very good.
Well, I know we have staff members that utilize the service, and my son actually has utilized it going to Wall. So it's it's a wonderful addition to the community.
It really is. I move for approval.
Could we have two action items,
Oh,
please?
I guess I won't yet.
There's the Hermiston Hopper, looks like first.
Move to approve the Hermiston Hopper discretionary fund grant application.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Move for approval of the Pilot Rock discretionary fund grant application, authorize the county transit coordinator to submit the project application to ODOT.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks, Megan.
Guama letter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Walder, County Planning Director. For the last several months, Umatilla and Morrow County have been working together on the reorganization of the lower Umatilla Basin Groundwater Management Area, or LGWAMA. And specifically, we've been working closely with DEQ and Randy Jones from DEQ. And we understand his plan is to retire. Well, both counties, leadership from both counties would like to request the DEQ keep him assigned to this project at least for another year in his post-retirement. So that's what this request letter before you is. It'll be signed by both county commissions from Umatilla and Morrow.
Just for record, this isn't the only project that Randy's working on. He actually is carrying over 2 other projects too. So, but I move for approval.
Motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 16, fair payables bleachers.
Move for approval of the bleacher payables.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Another fair payable electrical.
Move for a payable to Hollywood Lights for the electrical for the RV park. And just to note, that's a partnership with the city of Hermiston. City of Hermiston pays the greater share of that of about $30,000.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. URIS grants. Can we handle that one? Okay. The URIS Community Benefit Plan Board is recommending funding for grants for the Community Benefit Plan for 2022. The grants are before the board for approval. The committee met and we recommended grants in the amount of $5,000 to the Milton Freewater Ministerial Association for rental assistance and utility, $5,000 to the Milton Freewater Area Chamber of Commerce, the MFCDA, to promote agritourism in the Milton Freewater zip code in the amount of $5,000. $5,000 to MAG High Central Band Program for uniforms and performance software and instruments. $5,000 to the Milton Freewater Kiwanis Club, funding for a disc golf course at Meridian Park. $5,000 to the Milton Freewater Area Chamber of Commerce, MFCDA, for enhancement of previously established mural program, painting, advertising, flyers, power washing existing walls, etc. $5,000 to Danner Farms to purchase a shed to store the Danner Farms programs equipment. $5,000 for Mountain Freewater Senior Center for assistance replacing the swamp cooler at Senior Center. $5,000 to Mountain Freewater Pickleball Alliance for desire to build 4 pickleball courts at Freewater Park. This grant will provide funding for engineering design, laptop presentations, retain lawyer, apply for business license. And I'm here to tell you, I've played pickleball, and I'm a tennis player, so I thought pickleball would be a snap. It's completely different, I assure you. And last but not least, there's $2,000 to Coleman Geiger with financial assistance to travel to Japan to meet the family of an exchange student who stayed with them. He's also applying to 4-H International Travel Exchange Program. This will supplement that award. The Danner Farms one, was that, I think that was gonna be 3,000. I think that's a typo for 5,000. That was,
Right here, amount requested is 3 right there.
yeah.
You awarded 5,000.
But we changed that,
You
remember?
did, okay.
Yeah,
I'll correct the order. Sorry about that.
Oh, so
okay.
that's
I just
another
wanna make sure that that was for the record. So those are in front of the board for approval this
You
tonight.
might want to mention, so people know what the Eurus grant is.
Oh, the Eurus grant comes from the windmill money. It's like part of the SIP agreement with the windmills, and they've actually met their obligation quite a while ago, I believe, and now they're just still donating just to be nice to the community. Is that accurate, Robert?
Yeah, several years ago, their contractual obligation ended and they voluntarily agreed to contribute to the Eurus benefit program. Consistently, they've been giving $25,000 a year, but they have no obligation to do that. It's just a donation.
Right.
Since 2015.
Since 2015? Wow.
Wow.
I knew it's been a few years. I know it's been that long. Commissioner Murray, I think I stepped on you. Say that again. Okay.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I assure you that will not be in the cards. Yeah. Anybody that tells you it's just like tennis is lying to you. Number 19, Local Assistance Fund Grant. This authorization is sought from a grant from the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. As part of the American Rescue Plan, the grant would be for renovation costs at the Pendleton Children's Center. The amount requested is $250,000. I would move approval with $125,000 from this current lot of money, and then the second tranche in January for an additional $125,000 for a total of $250,000. So I would make that motion. Is there a second on that one? Okay. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion,
I
say aye.
have a comment first.
Oh,
I am gonna vote against this. This will be the first time that we've committed funding out of money that we haven't received yet. And I think that sets a very, very bad precedent. We've been very disciplined in this throughout all of our ARPA funding. And I can't support this and commit additional funding from money we haven't received yet.
okay. Ready for this? Correct, that, right.
Again, it's something that we haven't done, and with any of these ARPA funds, we haven't awarded it until we've received it, and so I just have a hard time breaking that precedent. So I know on this.
Yeah, so all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye? All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 2-1. And item number 20, supplemental budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO.
This is a public hearing,
Is it a public hearing? I didn't even catch that.
the supplemental budget. Does it?
Go back. Oh yeah, so let's go ahead and suspend our regular meeting and go into public hearing mode. With that, Robert.
Staff report, Commissioners, you have one supplemental budget before you this morning, Budget Order 2023-10. General Fund, General County requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $3 million and an increase in contingency of $3 million.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll come out of hearing mode, go back into the regular meeting.
Did you mean that to the public too?
Oh, right.
To the public.
Let's go back into the public hearing mode and ask if there's any comments from the public or questions. Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we'll exit public hearing mode, go back into our regular meeting.
Move for approval of Budget Order 2023-10, General Fund.
A motion and a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Here's the fun part. Number 21, budget transfers.
Good morning again. This morning there are 25 budget transfers scheduled for today. I'll summarize them. Budget Order 2023-02 General Fund Board of Commissioners requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $77,613 and a decrease in contingency of $77,613. Budget Order 2023-03 General Fund Human Resources requires a transfer of appropriations to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $65,654 and a decrease in contingency of $65,654. Budget Order 2023-04 General Fund Jail. The jail requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $490,316 and a decrease in contingency of $490,316. Budget Order 2023-05 General Fund Sheriff Office Administrative Services Program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $98,124 and a decrease in contingency of $98,124. Budget Order 2023-06 General Fund Criminal Program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $343,290 and a decrease in contingency of $343,290. Budget Order 2023-07 General Fund District Attorney requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $161,803 and a decrease in contingency of $161,803. Budget Order 2023-08 General Fund Support Enforcement requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $17,755 and a decrease in contingency of $17,755. Budget Order 2023-09 General Fund Victim Witness Program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $58,762 and a decrease in contingency of $58,762. Budget Order 2023-11, General Fund Finance. Program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $139,407 and a decrease in contingency of $139,407. Budget Order 2023-12, General Fund Assessor, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $193,502 and a decrease in contingency of $193,502. Budget Order 2023-13, General Fund Tax Collector, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $34,095 and a decrease in contingency of $34,095. Budget Order 2023-14, General Fund Admin Services, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $42,467 and a decrease in contingency of $42,467. Budget Order 2023-15, General Fund Building Maintenance, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $59,614 and a decrease in contingency of $59,614. Budget Order 2023-16, General Fund Records, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $20,664 and a decrease in contingency of $20,664. Budget Order 2023-17, General Fund Computer Information Services, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $93,535 and a decrease in contingency of $93,535. Budget Order 2023-18, General Fund Communication and Information, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $6,382 and a decrease in contingency of $6,382. Budget Order 2023-19, General Fund GIS, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $16,082 and a decrease in contingency of $16,082. Budget Order 2023-20, General Fund Elections, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $33,206 and a decrease in contingency of $33,206. Budget Order 2023-21, General Fund Emergency Management, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $29,895, a decrease in contingency of $29,895. Budget Order 2023-General Fund, Budget Order 2023-22, General Fund Planning, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $102,023 and a decrease in contingency of $102,023. Budget Order 2023-23, General Fund Code Enforcement, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $10,431 and a decrease in contingency of $10,431. Budget Order 2023-24, General Fund Surveyor, requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $3,211 and a decrease in contingency of $3,211. Budget Order 2023-25, General Fund Juvenile. The program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $3,376 and a decrease in contingency of $3,376. And Budget Order 2023-26, General Fund Veteran Services. Program requires a transfer of appropriation to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $36,233 and a decrease in contingency of $36,233. Other questions regarding those?
Could you say that again?
I could start over if you like.
The only thing I have is that you read off 26 budget orders as Budget Order 2023-26, and I don't see it on our list of the requested action.
General.
But we
Sorry
can,
about that,
we can include it in our motion, so, okay.
Well, 10 was skipped, 10 was skipped because
So
it was a
10 was
transfer.
actually the supplemental budget that was
8,
run.
9,
Right.
11.
But-
so we're
And
missing-
1 was our original adoption of the budget, so there was,
It's just not on the page.
We just don't have 26 on our list.
We
gotcha.
do down below, it's just not on the pinky,
Okay,
so, but that's easy. We can fix that.
any other
I was
questions?
trying to give you a break.
Thank you, Robert, and
I just-
Yalman's job there for sure.
I realized about a quarter of the way through that, that Commissioner Murdoch is going to punt on the motions and seconds, I'm assuming.
Well, I'll start it off. Go ahead. I'll go ahead and get us started. Move for approval of budget item number 2023-02.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for adoption of budget 2023-03.
Motion is second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget 2023-04.
Got a motion is second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget 2023-05.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-06.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-07.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget 2023-08.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-09.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-11.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-12.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-13.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-14.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-15.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-16.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-17.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-18.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Whoops. Aye.
All those in favor of the adoption of, or I move to adopt budget item number 2023-19.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-20.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-21.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-2020 or -22.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item 2023-23.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-24.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-25.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Move for the adoption of budget item number 2023-26.
Spoke too soon. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
So much for your perfect record. Wild Horse Foundation.
Move for approval.
That's an easy. Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 23, creation of position. Oh, there is Director Beck. Good morning. I was just gonna ask that. Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We already did your computer purchase piece, if you hadn't heard already. We approved that, so. We did that with Riley in the room, so. All right, thank you very much. Okay, have reached the end of our agenda. Dan and I see you hiding in the back, well, not hiding, but I see you in the back. Is there any way you could come and kind of discuss a little bit about the election process? I know like how far along in the count we are, that kind of stuff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Lanai, Director of Administrative Services. Commissioner Schaefer asked about the election. So the process where we're at, all ballots that we received yesterday, up to yesterday, have been counted, except for those that have challenges against those. We received over 25% of our ballots yesterday, so we had over 6,000 come in yesterday. So we received around 25,000 ballots altogether. So there's a few hundred in there. I don't know the exact that have some challenges on them. I know in the mail today we received about 300 to 500, somewhere in there. It's a tray and a half, and depending how tight they're packed in there. So we received about 300 to 500 ballots, probably more on the 300 side than the 500 side. And I would assume that would be the higher amount today. Tomorrow might be close, but in the past election, the day after is where the majority of those are. There's, at the moment, I don't see any really tight races or anything that the amount of ballots will change on that we have. Usually things trend the way they normally go. May change a percentage or two, but they usually trend along what we've seen and progress that way. We do have a couple of litigation holds, though, that was filed yesterday, and that involves, one is ballots that we received that don't actually have a clear postmark on it, so we just got that, we have to review that and go through that. We've forwarded those to legal counsel, our counsel. We also have a litigation hold too with, I think I might have discussed with you personally about our ballots that when they added the 16-year-olds could register, they were, that they could pre-register in a sense, and then when they turned 18, they would get their registration would be made effective, and they would get a ballot the next election after they turned 18. And it was all automatically done this is through Motor Voter, the DMV information there, and there was, with the state system, when they added that in there was a programming error with it. So people that, they believe the issue was individuals, young people that had a birthday within the 30 days of getting their driver's license. They were not put into the system, so they weren't registered when they turned 18. And the Secretary of State had us send all ballots out to all these individuals. We had about 250 individuals, but they were to be, when they came in, they were to be held, not counted, and held in a certain area because they knew there would be some sort of litigation on there. I probably have a few dozen, less than 50 of those. We had quite a few don't come in, but I don't know the exact number. Things were a little crazy. We didn't get out till a little after 2 this morning, so still have to figure those things out where we're at. But those are on hold, so there's a few ballots there. Hopefully that made some sense. I'm not sure what else was. Oh, my final, at the moment, looks like we might be number 34 out of 36 for voter turnout. So things might be moving in a good direction. It might be because we had a pretty big commissioner race going on where there was a lot spent on that. And so that might have also increased some of our turnout just because a lot of people were interested in that. But hopefully that trend will continue, that we won't be 36. 34 is a little nicer number. Any questions?
But statewide, it wasn't good, period.
We're actually above the statewide number.
Yeah, I made that comment earlier, that by
so,
like an 8%
or so.
or 800 of a point. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, there was a lot of turnout at the last moment. A lot of it was through Dropbox. It didn't come into there was warnings that, I don't know how the rest of the state was, but there was warnings that people were going to come at the last minute and stand in line and vote in the office. It didn't seem to be any worse than normal on that. We didn't have big crowds of that, but a lot of people did wait to the last day to drop their ballot off.
So, one question I do have is, looking at our numbers, it looks like, are we counting undervotes as votes in the tally compared to
Okay, there's
state
a little
numbers?
bit of, there's been some changes there, and I don't think those are showing up online correctly, the undervotes and overvotes there. I have to verify those this morning. But it's causing some total numbers. But the numbers for the people, the actual votes, yes, and for each individual, or the measures are correct. It's just the overvotes are not on the little
So
sensitive.
this template that John's looking at,
Is it the one with the little bar?
Yeah, is that a state template?
What it is, so
Because
the state has a similar
reports
system.
State looks exactly the same, but it reports differently.
So Union County's IT people wrote the one that we use. They shared it with us. And for the last 5-6 years, we've always had doubled amounts at the state on our undervotes and overvotes. So they actually had a reporting change that we sent to them to try to fix their issue. But apparently it broke ours. So now ours is recording.
But the question I think is, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but the question is, in our percentages reporting, we include the undervotes. The statewide system does not include the undervotes.
Yeah, when I did the math last night, because I'm currently looking at the state one on my screen, and I'll use my rates just for clarification. It shows me at 62.82%, with Holly Joe Beers at 36.85%. But if you go to the county site, it shows a significant difference.
So one thing that happens on some of those too, when we're talking percentages and percentage turnouts, the state grabs numbers differently than ours too. I would look at the amount of votes that you receive right now. Those are the correct numbers. And we put these on, Riley's working on that portion there, but we put these on late last night and I didn't have time to actually go through and look at.
I got two media calls late last night and they were asking how does that difference? And I included the media, I included the undercounts in my response.
Yeah, and they're not reporting right on our site. I can tell you that the undervotes and the overvotes are not reporting correctly.
So hopefully the media is reporting the state.
And I'd have to look at what the state's.
Is the count accurate on undervotes?
I'm sitting here trying to pull it up on mine and it's just sitting here spinning, so.
Come snag mine? And then you can see the state tab is right there.
Yeah, so when we look at these, if we look at our amounts there, did I just knock something off?
You're good.
Good thing it came this way.
So these numbers here and then the percentage, so they're using these things in here and calculating their, let's see, so you got 30, you got 72, 73. So, yeah, these are in that percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, and these numbers, I believe, have been doubled by the file when it goes over to the system. So there's a little bit of a programming that the undervotes have been doubled because in the state previously, their system, they changed our report that we send them because they kept getting double, but now it broke the link on ours. So when we look at it, here they do not show. I think how they fix it is by not having them in there this year. That might be what
they did the same thing when I ran. The states were different than the counties.
Yeah.
And that's
reporting.
Yeah, and I'm getting that question a lot, and I would imagine that Cindy is probably getting the same questions. So.
But yeah, what happened? The only way we did the math, and ours includes the undervotes.
Right.
But what's really weird is, if I remember right, it includes the undervotes, but not the overvotes.
Yeah. So did I hear you right? The number of undervotes is actually doubled. So
I have to verify that yet because okay, so what they're using is they are taking the votes of Susan and Bauer and Timmons, adding those together and then taking the percentage
because that eliminates the overvotes and undervotes.
Yeah.
So so there was none included in that. And just the way the system, which this makes more sense like this.
Yeah.
Because undervotes shouldn't be included in your percentage anyway.
Agreed.
Hopefully, on the record here, now we're making things more confusing than they are. And it's kind of this morning and afternoon is when we sit there and research and make sure everything's where we're at with everything.
Well,
because our main thing was counting last night.
And kudos to you and your staff. I mean, you had a big task and you performed well. I mean, it's not like, we're not in the news like Clackamas County was in the primary, so that's always.
We had a few hiccups. I like to throw out a few shout outs to IT had to set up a lot of things for us to allow our security to do some stuff. We had a ballot box break and maintenance had to go and replace it. Some of the ballots were saying it was over full and melting free water. We had one of the deputies go down there and they took care of that for us too, and the deputies brought things in. So there's a lot of effort going on all at the same time to make sure this all pulled off. So I'd like to thank the sheriff and the maintenance and IT and a lot of the city manager, different people helping us out too. It's just been great.
And make sure you express that to us too. Sure. Do you know when you'll have precinct information?
I have to look at everything where it comes out and stuff there, but and see where everything's at. But yeah.
What time did you leave here? 2
o'clock? A little after, like 2:15 or something like that. So.
My goodness.
But my wife's alarm goes off at her time, so yeah.
We all know how that goes.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorn, did you have anything?
Nothing but to say thanks to everybody, this, including security, as Dan mentioned. Heather, without Heather's personality, I think that it makes it a longer day for everyone down there. She definitely helps get through that day, but it's, there's nothing easy about it for any of them.
Commissioner Murdoch. Well, safe travels home. So, all right.
And that's a nice room. Nice place.
That's nice. That's a very nice addition. So, all right. Well, thank you. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Have you worked with